You there? Yep, there we go. Alright, apologies. That should be all fixed now. And welcome, William. Eliza Guitar, parallel for the Warriors. Jaden Brayley, a high performance for the Knights. Hi, I'm Lukey, Rising Stars for the Cowboys. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Josh Kerr, parallel for Dragons. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. Tommy Talau, parallel for the Tigers. So we have been lucky enough. Obviously, not having a microphone, nobody would know what I've had to say. But we have been lucky enough to hit the legends in the mini starter case, so it's a good start. I don't know which one it is and I don't know what number, so we'll go find that one out at the end of the break together. Jaden Campbell, club hero for the Titans. And Jake Granville, parallel for the Cowboys. So it's definitely a good start. Rising Stars, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. David Fafita, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. Corey Allen, parallel for the Bulldogs. Joseph Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. Manly, parallel checklist. High performance, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Power Heroes, Harry Grant for the Storm. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Toby Sexton for the Titans. Nathan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Brett Morris for the Roosters. Tessie New, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Jake Clifford, parallel for Knights. Tony Staggs, Power Heroes for Broncos. Luke Thompson, parallel for Bulldogs. Well, that's everyone's tips for tonight. Broncos have lost. Their star signing.
What?
Yeah, he's out. Adam Reynolds. Davey Mole, Rising Stars for Rabbits. Josh Papali, parallel for Raiders. Milford, too scared to play against Milford.
Oh.
High performance, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. And that's a reminder, if you haven't put your tips in and you haven't seen the post, don't forget to go and do it now. Big Tino, Club Heroes for the Titans. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Kalen Ponga, parallel for Knights. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Dragons, parallel checklist. Josh Schuster, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Corey Thompson, parallel for Titans. Our Heroes, Brian Totter for Panthers. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. Franklin Pillay, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Jake Trebojevic, parallel for Manly. Harley Smith Shields, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Luke Thompson, parallel for Bulldogs. Albert Kelly, season to remember for the Broncos. Josh Papali, parallel for the Raiders. High performance, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Thomas Burgess, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Dean Iremia for the Storm. Kyle Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Reed Marnie for the Eels. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for the Dragons. Getting there. What do we got? 3, 6, 9. This is our ninth last packet for the starter packs. So once we get through these, we'll get stuck into the case. Teague Wilton, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Big Tino, parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbits. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Team high performance for the Panthers. That's what I did lose in amongst all that, was my team list. There we go. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. High performance, Damien Cook for the Rabbitohs. Jaden Brayley, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for Storm. Adam Reynolds, season to remember for the Rabbitohs. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Amazing how loved Adam Reynolds is by the Rabbitohs supporters still. Master Apprentice Blake Taff for the Rabbits. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Alright, last but not least. I don't know if we can get much bigger, but we could have added something else to the list, but not this time around. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Storm. Alright, let's split these in half for they're close enough. We will grab these out of the way. Have a drink of coffee, because coffee is important. Alright, we'll jump up, we'll open this case and find out who our lucky case card receiver is for today. Good God. Brent Nichols with the Knights. Taking home number 20 out of 30, Mr. Brodie Jones. And obviously for the Knights. I'll show that one there. Congratulations, Brent. Slide this over a little bit more. Disappear. That one. This is the first box out of the case. We're going to push them boxes a bit more out of our way. Alright. First box, here we go. Rising Stars, Enduring Mamoisi for the Knights. Dave Fafita, parallel for the Titans. So I've said it a few times in the past, guys, but I mean, we've started the break off. Whoops, it's about to come off. Don't want to ruin the surprise. We've started the break off with a Legends in the first product, so that's been the mini starter case for the Newsagents. Hopefully we can continue with the second product in the case and see how far we can go. There is the potential, all up, to pull 4 Legend signatures in the one break. We've pulled the first one. Just a reminder, I don't know which one it is, don't know numbers, haven't looked. James Tedesco, Club Heroes for the Roosters. Thomas Burgess, parallel for the Rabbits. We'll have a look at the end together. That brightness, let me fix that as well. That's shocking. We'll give that a go, it's a bit better. Let you know what you think, put it back the way it was. I'll leave it. I think that looks better. For some reason it keeps liking to reset the settings. Ryan Sutton, parallel for the Raiders. Might look at a different program when this one's up for renewal. Rising Stars, Xavier Savage for the Raiders. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Alex Glenn for the Broncos. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for the Raiders. Josh Curran, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Hayes Dunster for the Eels. Victor Bradley, parallel for the Roosters. Master and Apprentice Black and Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Josh Jackson, parallel for the Bulldogs. High Performance, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Our Heroes, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Jordan Ricky, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. Sharks parallel checklist. Season to Remember, Matt Duffy for the Dragons. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Sharks Predictor number 150. Robert Kelly with the Sharks. Seen someone was actually looking for one the other day in one of the groups. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Season to Remember, Chad Townsend for the Sharks. Nathan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for Dragons. High Performance, Josh Adokar for the Storm. Tommy Talau, parallel for the Tigers. Master Apprentice, Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Greg Marshew for the Titans. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Any hits? It's my name. Who are we? Sharks, Robert Kelly. I'm not sure. Rising Stars, Luke Metcalf for the Sharks. Aaron Clark, parallel for Titans. Who are we? Footy with Oscar. Footy show with Oscar. You probably told me before. I can't remember. I'm shocking. High Performance, Matt Burton for Panthers. Kyle Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. Our Heroes, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Jaden Brayley, parallel for Knights. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Master and Apprentice and Molly Olaka'atu. Kieran Foran, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for Panthers. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Addo Carr for the Storm. Big Tino, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Trent LaRoe for Storm. Felice Kafusi, parallel for Storm. High Performance, Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Corey Allen, parallel for the Bulldogs. We got 3, 6, 7, 8. Joseph Tapine, parallel for Raiders. Team High Performance for the Knights. Eliza Qatar, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Blake Taff for the Rabbits. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Oh, God. Every time. When you're finished, are you able to just shut the blinds for me, please? Oh, that's better. Thank you. Jordan Rapana for the Raiders. Stephen Crichton, Panthers. Rising Stars, Zach Sini for the Tigers. Tessie New, parallel for the Broncos. 2 packets left for our first box. Season to remember, Isaiah Papali'i for the Eels. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. It's got some marks, scratches in it from the machine, that one. Renato Mulatalo, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for the Raiders. Josh Curran, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Daly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. High Performance, Jaden Brayley for the Knights. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. Master Apprentice, Isaiah Yeo for the Panthers. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, TC Rabuddy for the Broncos. Jordan Ricky, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Taylor May for the Panthers. Storm, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Brett Norris for the Roosters. Sharks, parallel checklist. Adam Dewey, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. Nathan Brown, parallel for Eels. Club Heroes, Andrew McCulloch for the Dragons. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for the Knights. Master Apprentice, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Mikhail Rauloa, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Sealam Lukey for the Cowboys. Kyle Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Adam Reynolds for the Rabbits. Jaden Brayley, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Jason Tormalolo, parallel for Cowboys. Master Apprentice Black, Herbie Farmworth for the Broncos. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Milwaukee Photo parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Jared Croker for the Raiders. Baloney kick out, parallel for Panthers. Knights predictor. Number 181, Mr. Brent Nicol. Jadriel Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Jake Simpkin for the Tigers. Broncos parallel checklist. High performance, Wade Egan for the Warriors. Matt Moylan parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Davy Mole for the Rabbitohs. Cody Nikorima, parallel for the Warriors. Our heroes, Nick Kotrick for the Bulldogs. James Tamo, parallel for Tigers. Regan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for Eels. Rising Stars, Toby Sexton for Titans. Josh Kerr, parallel for Dragons. Our heroes, Tony Staggs for the Broncos. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Reed Marnie for the Eels. Jake Granville, parallel for Cowboys. High performance, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Jake Averillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Dean Iremia for the Storm. Jake Clifford, parallel for Knights. High performance, Damien Cook for the Rabbitohs. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Joseph Sawali for the Roosters. Damien Cook, parallel for Rabbits. Manly parallel checklist. Team high performance for the Cowboys. David Fafita, parallel for Titans. Why did I even say Sharks? Teague Wilton, Rising Stars of the Sharks. Tom Burgess, parallel for the Rabbits. Zach Lomax, season 2 member for the Dragons. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Bit random, but is there any lollies in the cupboard? Jeez. I don't need some sugar, guys. Hey Adam, hey Leon, welcome guys. Cody Ramsey, parallel for Dragons. High performance, Jake Turpin for the Broncos. Jace Tavega, parallel for the Warriors. Master and Apprentice Black for the Titans. Kevin Proctor. Clint Gupson, parallel for the Eels. Our heroes are Josh Papali for the Raiders. Roosters parallel checklist. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Keenan Palacia for the Broncos. Herbie Farmworth, parallel for Broncos. Just about to ask you guys what the last box hit was, but we've hit both the predictors already. Matt Burton, season 2 member for Panthers. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. So this is our third box that we've just started. Done 2 boxes so far and found 2 predictors. Talator Amon, Rising Stars for the Dragons. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Wade Graham for the Sharks. Dane Laurie, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Valakiku Manu for the Bulldogs. Alex Twal, parallel for Tigers. High performance, Reese Robson for the Cowboys. Kenneth Bromwich, parallel for Storm. Master Apprentice, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for Broncos. Our Heroes, header A. So obviously we'll randomise that at the end. Jason Saab, parallel for Manly. Franklin Pillay for the Sharks. Kevin Proctor, parallel for Titans. Ooh, Luke Hodder. Well, out of the retirements, this is the retirement that you want for this series, Mr. Cameron Smith. Can't believe how high some of these are getting. Crazy. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for Rabbits. Rising Stars, Will Panasini for the Eels. Panthers parallel checklist. Season to remember, Ewan Aiken for the Warriors. Nick Kotrick, parallel for the Bulldogs. Master and Apprentice, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. Joe Stimson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Rocco Berry for the Warriors. John Rapana for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Tukimea Simpkins for the Tigers. Sione Katoa, parallel for the Sharks. Joe Manu, parallel for the Roosters. Club hero, Marcelo Montoya for the Warriors. Luciano Aleilua, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Andui for the Tigers. Zach Lomax, parallel for the Dragons. Cowboys parallel checklist. Season to remember, Albert Kelly for the Broncos. Haddon Fanua Blake, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Tyson Smoothie for Storm. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for the Knights. High performance, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Reid Marnie, parallel for the Eels. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. We got 1, 2, 3, 7 packs left for our third box of the case. 2 predictors and a retirement so far. Team high performance for the Dragons. Hammer Fido, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Knights, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Harley Smith Shields, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Dominic Young for the Knights. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Brian Kelly, parallel for Titans. And last, hopefully not least, high performance, Josh Hodgson for the Raiders. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. On another note, if you were coming along to Brett Horsnell's fundraiser dinner, please check out the new post as it has been rescheduled due to lack in ticket sales. So if you know anyone that would like to come or would think about coming, tag them in the post, share the post to them. Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. Obviously, they don't have to come with us. You might be able to put a table of 10 together yourselves. Joseph Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. But we are offering, if you do come with us, we are willing to pay half your ticket for the night. Elijah Guitar, parallel for the Warriors. And as far as I know, it hasn't changed. The person that's putting it on is actually paying the bar tab, the food, the venue. So all the money raised from the ticket sales goes direct to Brett Horsnell. So, season to remember, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. I wish I knew the presenter's name, whoever's putting it on, because I think that's a top effort. Kyle Felt, parallel for the Cowboys. High performance, David Clemmer for the Knights. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. Master and Apprentice, Cody Walker for the Rabbits. Stephen Crichton, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Toby Sexton for the Titans. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, TC Rabadi for the Broncos. Tessie New, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Brian To'o for Panthers. Renato Multalo, parallel for the Sharks. Nathan Brown, parallel for Eels. Tommy Talau, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Master and Apprentice, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Blake Laurie, parallel for Dragons. Power Heroes, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Helam Lukey for the Cowboys. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Braden Best, parallel for the Knights. Master Apprentice Black, Blake Taff for the Rabbits. Felice Kafusi, parallel for Storm. Pretty sure we already found a Blake Taff. Might have been in the priority. High performance, in the starters. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, high performance for the Warriors. Sharks parallel checklist. I do know we have that legend hiding there. Kieran Foran, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Jack Hetherington for the Bulldogs. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. I was a bit excited. I heard talks that Reid Barney was going to stay at Eels. But then I seen a post today that no, he's confirmed he'll be at the Bulldogs next year. Rising Stars, Jake Simpkin for the Tigers. Jordan Ricky, parallel for the Broncos. Curious to know your thoughts on the Barrett situation. Do you think he should have stood down or even been fired if he didn't stand down for that matter? Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Jake Granville, parallel for Cowboys. Seems to be a lot of support for both sides. The main comment being that most people believe with the side that he's had, most people would have struggled to win the games. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. I honestly believed that Addo-Carr, if they were going to do any good, was going to be their wake-up call and make the difference. A bit like Reynolds for Broncos. Jaden Campbell, Club Heroes for Titans. Jake Clifford, parallel for Knights. But obviously being out on the wing, he can play his own game, but I don't know how he goes about motivating the rest of them. Rising Stars, Taylor May for the Panthers. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. And that's the difference between playing for a well-oiled machine like Panthers are at the moment, or Storm, where he come from. Rising Stars, Davy Mull for the Rabbitohs. Josh Curran, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Oh. Manly parallel checklist. David Fafita, parallel for the Titans. Daniel Saifiti, our heroes for the Knights. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for Raiders. Joseph Suwali, Rising Stars for the Roosters. Thomas Burgess, parallel for the Rabbits. High performance of Thomas Burgess for the Rabbits. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for Storm. High performance, Alex Twal for the Tigers. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Christopher Doug. Mr. Tyson Gamble, White Authentic, number 82 for the Broncos. I wonder how quick they'll get Reynolds on a Broncos signature. Lachlan Okroger, parallel for Manly. Team high performance for the Panthers. Big Tino for the Titans. Rising Stars, Dean Iremia for Storm. Jaden Brayley, parallel for Knights. Sorry guys, just pop-ups. There we go. Teague Wilton, Rising Stars for the Sharks. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbits. I'm pretty sure it's Dwayne. Might be Jared. No, I don't think Jared does it. Pretty sure it's Dwayne Visario. They do a Zoom call for the breaks. If you'd be interested in that for something different, guys, let me know. We should be able to set that up easy enough. And Josh Curran, season to remember for the Warriors. Corey Allen, parallel for the Bulldogs. Emery Gula, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Ajira Mamoisi for the Knights. Aaron Clark, parallel for the Titans. Club Heroes, Bailey Biondi Otto for the Bulldogs. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. And this is a box number 5 out of the case. And obviously the mini starter case at the beginning. Xavier Savage, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Josh Jackson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Alex Glenn for the Broncos. Ryan Sutton, parallel for the Raiders. Wade Cordner, retirement for the Roosters. Ewan Aiken, parallel for the Warriors. Master Apprentice Black. Oops. And James Tamo for the Tigers. Corey Waddell, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Hayes Dunster for the Eels. Joseph Sawali, parallel for the Roosters. High Performance, Jack Bird for the Dragons. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Our heroes, Harry Grant for the Storm, Payne Haas, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Luke Brooks, parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Matt Duffy for the Dragons. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Chad Townsend for the Sharks. Eels, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. Tarek Sims, parallel for the Dragons. High Performance, Brian To'off for Panthers. Tommy Dearden, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Luke Metcalf for the Sharks. Jared Wallace, parallel for the Titans. Pick them for the upset at home this week. See how they go. Alexander Brimson, Power Heroes. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for the Storm. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for Panthers. Amoli Olaka'atu, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Josh Adokar for Storm. Alexander Brimson, parallel for Titans. Master and Apprentice, Jake Trebojevic for Manly. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Keon Kolomatangi, parallel for the Rabbits. High Performance, Daniel Tupu for the Roosters. Bulldogs, parallel checklist. And there goes my music. Dead. No good. Chance Nico Klokstad for the Raiders. Team High Performance for the Storm. Dylan Platine Zalesniak, parallel for Warriors. Rising Stars, Trent LaRoe for the Storm. Christian Welsh parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, a Blake Taff for the Rabbits. Saitili Tupanua, parallel for the Roosters. And getting through this, 3, 6, 8, 8, the last packet for box number 5. Season to remember, Jordan Rapiner for the Raiders. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Zach Sini for the Tigers. Jake Turpin, parallel for the Broncos. Parallel, Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. Sio Sifa Talakai, parallel for the Sharks. High Performance, Justin Olam for the Storm. Tigers parallel checklist. Master and Apprentice, Mitchell Pearce for the Knights. Micah Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Greg Martiu, Rising Stars for the Titans. Andrew McCulloch, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Isaiah Papali'i for the Eels. Cohen Hess, parallel for the Cowboys. Box number 6. Almost halfway through the case. Sorry, Dad. Oh. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Quick reminder of what we've pulled so far out of the case. We've got 2 predictors, the White Authentic, and what are we? 2 retirements so far. High Performance, William Kennedy for the Sharks. Caden Ponga, parallel for the Knights. And I must admit, if we've pulled the only, oh no, we've still got at least a creator to go. Master Apprentice, Matt Moylan for the Sharks. But we are fingers crossed for the Black Authentic and the Legends. Fingers crossed. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for the Storm. We have already got one legend. Was that a Knights case card? It is, mate. Is that just alternate names, Chris, or are you relation? Season to remember, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Tony Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. Isaac Tago, Rising Stars for Panthers. Josh Schuster, parallel for Manly. Yeah, Brent Nichols has Knights. Rising Stars, Kobe Hetherington for the Broncos. Jerome Luai, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Alexander Brimson for the Titans. Corey Thompson, parallel for Titans. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Egan Abucha for the Roosters. Luke Thompson, parallel for Bulldogs. Kobe Hetherington, Club Heroes for the Broncos. Daniel Tupou, parallel for Roosters. Master and Apprentice, Josh Papali for the Raiders. Josh Papali, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbits. Warriors, parallel checklist. Seasons to remember, Jaden Ockenbaugh for the Bulldogs. And James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Pretty sure it was MG, but I've seen a post about his Blues Origin squad that he would pick. Jaden Sullivan, Master Apprentice Black for the Dragons. No Moses, had both Luai and Cleary. Brian Totter, parallel for Panthers. Which, even as a Eels supporter, I do not disagree with that. Rising Stars, Valemi Avale for the Warriors. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Thomas Flegler, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Dragons parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Matt Croker for the Knights. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Thomas Burgess for the Rabbits. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. High Performance, Mawaki Fodawaika for the Titans. Titans parallel checklist. Toby Rudolph, Power Heroes for the Sharks. Tavita Tatala, parallel for the Rabbits. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. And Justin O'Neill, retirement for the Cowboys. Jack Hetherington, parallel for Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. Raiders parallel checklist. And God, there's a lot of double ups with the teams. Dejan Assi, Rising Stars for the Cowboys. Valentine Holmes, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Mitchell Pearce for the Knights. Chanel Harris Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Wiramir Grieg for the Eels. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Kieran Foran, Power Heroes for Manly. Jack Bird, parallel for Dragons. High Performance, Clint Gufferson for the Eels. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Tyson Gamble, parallel for Broncos. Team High Performance for the Bulldogs. Toby Rudolph, parallel for the Sharks. High Performance, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tyrell Sloan for the Dragons. Stefano Utikamanu, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Bailey Biondi Otto for the Bulldogs. David Nofaluma, parallel for the Tigers. And last but not least, for box number 6. Season to remember, Tommy Turbo and Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Obviously not least when it includes an Eels card. I've almost polished off all Dad's longs. Box number 7. Cody Nicarima, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Joseph Solali for the Roosters. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. We know 100% we've still got a creator to find, but what else can we be lucky enough to find in amongst these? Anari Tuala, high performance for the Knights. Jared Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Master and Apprentice, Blake Taff for the Rabbits. Balami Kickout, parallel for Panthers. Brian Kelly, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, TC Rabuddy for the Broncos. Broncos parallel checklist. Season to remember, Brian Totoff for Panthers. Matt Moylan, parallel for the Sharks. Jaden Campbell, season to remember for the Titans. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. James Tamo, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. Regan Campbell Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Master Apprentice for Jake Arthur for the Eels. Josh Kerr, parallel for Dragons. Rising Stars, Helam Lukey for the Cowboys. Jake Gramble, parallel for the Cowboys. Club Heroes, Isaiah Papali'i for the Eels. Knights parallel checklist. Season to remember, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Jake Clifford, parallel for Knights. Master and Apprentice Black, Isaiah Yo for Panthers. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Hammer Fido, parallel for Cowboys. Manly parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jake Simpkin for the Tigers. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for the Broncos. High Performance, Reece Walsh for the Warriors. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Jack Hetherington for the Bulldogs. Panthers parallel checklist. Header B for the Power Heroes. Dane Laurie, parallel for the Tigers. Pink Gufferson, parallel for the Eels. Retirement, Isaac Luke for the Broncos. Joey Manu, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Toby Sexton for the Titans. Cody Ramsey, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, David Nopaluma for the Tigers. Jason Tormalolo, parallel for Cowboys. Almost finished box number 7. Rising Stars, Davy Mole for the Rabbits. Adam Fanua Blake, parallel for the Warriors. Gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4. 9th last packet. Rising Stars, Dean Iremia for the Storm. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for Knights. High Performance, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Knights parallel checklist. Dally Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Brian To'o, Power Heroes for Panthers. Hudson Young, parallel for Raiders. Team High Performance for the Rabbitohs. Milwaukee Fodawaker, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Tig Wilton for the Sharks, Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbits. High Performance, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Joe Stimson, parallel for the Bulldogs. 2 packets left. Season to remember, Josh Curran for the Warriors. Jake Averillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Raiders. And that finishes off in box number 7. So what are we up to? Box number 8. Which means, including this one, we have 7 left to go. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. Cody Walker, Club Heroes for the Rabbitohs. Stefano Uzikamanu, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Blake Ferguson for the Eels. Dragons parallel checklist. Reese Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Master Apprentice Black, Josh Curran for the Warriors. Reed Marnie, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tyson Smoothie for Storm. Kalen Ponga, parallel for Knights. High Performance, Kyle Felt for the Cowboys. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for Storm. Power Heroes, Jai Arrow for the Rabbits. Josh Schuster, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Alex Twal, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Franklin Pillay for the Sharks. Corey Thompson, parallel for the Titans. Anthony Don, retirements for the Titans. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Corey Norman for the Dragons. Luke Thompson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Rocco Berry for the Warriors. Josh Papali, parallel for Raiders. Rising Stars, Talator Amon for the Dragons. And Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. High Performance, Xavier Coates for the Broncos. Warriors parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Tukamea Simpkins for the Tigers. Toby Rudolph, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Jaden Brayley for the Knights. Jazz Tavega, parallel for the Warriors. Junior Paulo, Power Heroes for the Eels. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Parallel, Brian Totter for Panthers. Rising Stars, Keenan Palacia for the Broncos. Thomas Flegler, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Sione Katoa, parallel for the Sharks. Master and Apprentice, Joseph Suardi for the Roosters. Herbie Farnworth, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Afalakiku Manu for the Bulldogs. Luciano Leilua, parallel for Tigers. High Performance, Nick Meaney for the Bulldogs. Brian Madison, parallel for Eels. Zach Lomax, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Will Penasini for the Eels. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for Panthers. Team High Performance for the Tigers. Cowboys parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Kenneth Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. 1, 2, 3, 6 packets. 6 last pack for box number 8. Rising Stars, Dominic Young for the Knights, Jason Saab, parallel for Manly. Roosters, parallel checklist. Kevin Proctor, parallel for Titans. High Performance, Jordan Rapiner for the Raiders. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbits. Master and Apprentice, Stefano Utakamanu for the Tigers. Nick Kotrick, parallel for the Bulldogs. Whoop. Harley Smith Shields for the Raiders. Jordan Rapiner, parallel for the Raiders. Alright, another box, let's go. Cohen Hess, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Bailey Biondi Otto for the Bulldogs. Luke Brooks, parallel for the Tigers. High Performance for the Sharks. Jacob Saifidi, parallel for the Knights. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Master and Apprentice, William McKennedy for the Sharks. Christian Welch, parallel for the Storm. No. Rising Stars, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Season to Remember, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Payne Husk, parallel for the Broncos. Season to Remember, Alexander Brimson for Titans. Jared Wallace, parallel for Titans. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Kobe Hetherington for the Broncos. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Oh, super. Rising Stars, Egan Butcher for the Roosters. Corey Waddell, parallel for Bulldogs. Master and Apprentice, Emery Gula for the Raiders. Emery Gula, parallel for the Raiders. Jordan Rapiner, club hero for the Raiders. Joseph Suwali, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbits. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Jaden Ockenbaugh for the Bulldogs, Daniel Tupu for the Roosters. Master Apprentice Black, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Jerome Luai, parallel for Panthers. Valami Avile, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Ewan Aiken, parallel for the Warriors. Ooh, it's got paper cuts and that on the inside of my finger. Can't say I've had that before. New one. Tony Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. I think it's deep enough to bleed, so we'll be right. Nothing to worry about. Matt Croker, Rising Stars for the Knights. Amoli Olaka'atu for Manly. High Performance, David Fafita for the Titans. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Power Heroes, Alexander Brimson for the Titans. Keon Kolomatangi, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Thomas Burgess for the Rabbits. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for the Storm. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for Knights. Matthew Tomoko, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Chance Nico Klokstad, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Mitchell Pearce for the Knights. Darren Watine Zalesniak, parallel for the Warriors. William McGreeg, Rising Stars for the Eels. Saitili Tupanua, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Dejan Assi for the Cowboys. Tom Duden, parallel for the Cowboys. High Performance, Micah Sivo for the Eels. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for Panthers. Oh, here we go. I think I've seen quite a few of these ones. Mr. Robert Kelly, number 35 for the Sharks. William Kennedy, the creator. Jack Turpin, parallel for the Broncos. Team High Performance for the Sharks. Sifa Talakai, parallel for the Sharks. Our hero is Harry Grant for the Storm. Tarek Sims, parallel for the Dragons. 4 packets left. Rising Stars, Tyrell Sloan for the Dragons. Tigers parallel checklist. High Performance, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Eels parallel checklist. Season to remember, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Micah Sivo, parallel for Eels. Rising Stars, Ben Trebojevic for Manly. Andrew McCulloch, parallel for the Dragons. Alright, it's already up to box number 10. Sifa Talakai, parallel for the Sharks. Retirement, Blake Green for the Knights. Valentine Holmes, parallel for the Cowboys. High Performance, Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Master Apprentice, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Jake Turpin, parallel for Broncos. Isaac Tago, Rising Stars for Panthers. Jake Trebojevic, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Jesse Bromwich for Storm. Titans parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Kobe Hetherington for Broncos. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for Panthers. Tavita Totola, rising parallel for Rabbits. Rising Stars, Egan Butcher for the Roosters. Jack Hetherington, parallel for the Bulldogs. Master Apprentice, Herbie Farmworth for the Broncos. Raiders, parallel checklist. Elam Lukey, Club Heroes for the Cowboys. Saitili Tupanua, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbits. Chanel Harris Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Sam Williams for the Raiders. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Master Apprentice Black Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Valami Avale for the Warriors. Dan Wateen Zelezniak, parallel for the Warriors. Tyson Gamble, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Jack Bird, parallel for Dragons. Jacob Saifiti, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Hamafito for the Cowboys. Christian Welsh, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Matt Croker for the Knights. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. High Performance, Mitchell Reen for the Titans. Jared Wallace, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Dejan Ashe for the Cowboys. Cohen Hess, parallel for the Cowboys. Our heroes are James Tedesco for the Roosters. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Corey Waddell, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. Emery Gula, parallel for the Raiders. Our heroes, Dylan Martin Zalesniak for the Warriors, Andrew McCulloch parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Xavier Coates for the Broncos, Tohu Harris parallel for the Warriors. High performance, Lachlan Croker for Manly, Micah Sivo parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Wiramu Greig for the Eels, and Daniel Tupu parallel for the Roosters. High performance, Reid Marnie for the Eels. Jerome Luai parallel for Panthers. Tony Staggs parallel for Broncos. Team high performance for the Broncos. William Kennedy parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Bailey Biondi Otto for the Bulldogs. Tigers parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Tyrell Sloan for the Dragons. David Nofaluma parallel for Tigers. And last pack for the box. Season to remember, William Kennedy, Junior Paulo parallel for the Eels. So this is a box of 11 out of the case. So including this box, we have 4 boxes in total left. We have the 21 and 22 priority. We have this one and one more box left from the case. And we have the hobby box too, but the 21 Traders hobby box, but obviously that gets randomised. Rising Stars, Tukamea Simpkins for the Tigers, Jesse Ramian parallel for the Sharks. Club Heroes, the Paps for Storm. Oaks 12, parallel for Tigers. Jaden Campbell, Rising Stars for Titans. Reid Marnie, parallel for the Eels. And before we start the randomisers at the end, we'll reveal which Legends card we were lucky enough to hit at the beginning. Hopefully we can hit at least one more, that'd be nice. Blake Ferguson, season to remember for the Eels. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. I don't think I'm asking much. At least 2 Legends for the break, that'd be nice. Be a good break. Hammer Fido, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Tyson Smoothie for the Storm. Knights, parallel checklist. Josh Kerr, parallel for Dragons. High performance, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Brian Totter, Power Heroes for Panthers. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Franklin Pele for the Sharks. Brian Kelly, parallel for Titans. Master and Apprentice Black for the Cowboys. Valentine Holmes. Regan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for the Eels. What are the hits so far? I think it's a Knights predictor, a Sharks predictor, Sharks creator, Titans white, I think. No, had the white authentic already. Here's a foil Tanila Paseka for Manly, number 232. And we have, not sure which one, but we have hit a Legends SIG in the starter case, mini starter case. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Corey Norman for the Dragons. Joe Stimson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Can't remember who the white authentic. Oh, Broncos, I think now actually. Yep, Tyson Gamble. Rocco Berry, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Well, we can hope for a black. You're not guaranteed a black in every case. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. We've had one foil, so I know there's at least a foil in there. But of course, we're hoping for another Legends and a black. It'd be nice. Season to remember, Ruben Garrick for Manly. James Tarmo, parallel for Tigers. High performance, Payne Huss for the Broncos. Aden Fanua Blake, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Harley Smith Shields for the Raiders. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Jaden Brayley for the Knights. Cody Nikarima, parallel for the Warriors. Oh, they got multiple cards. Power Heroes, header B. Joey Manu, parallel for the Roosters. Panthers, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Keenan Palacia for the Broncos. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Talator Amon for the Dragons. Matt Moylan, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Yes, the legend gets randomised between all 16 spots regardless of hit. Rising Stars, fella Kiku Manu and Dane Laurie, parallel for the Tigers. High Performance, a Will Hopper-Wade for the Bulldogs. Clint Gufferson, parallel for the Eels. Casey certainly had everything you're supposed to get, plus a black sig and a legend sig. Yes, that's what we've actually found ourselves. The legend sigs are normally with the black sig, but not guaranteed, obviously. I opened a couple of black sigs with no legends in them. Daniel Tupou, Master Apprentice for the Roosters. Yeah, I know, I'm just... Yeah. Broncos parallel checklist. And as Dad said, obviously that's going to be the case because there is more black sigs than legend sigs. But unfortunately, you're not guaranteed both or either in a case. Cody Ramsey, parallel for Dragons. And considering that, I think it's actually pretty slack that both of them can be found in the same case. I think they should have been split up so it was closer, hitting either or. More likely to hit one. Team High Performance for the Warriors. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for Cowboys. But it is what it is, and we will deal with it because we have no choice. Rising Stars, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Will Penasini for the Eels. Valami Kickout, parallel for the Panthers. Season to remember, Alex Johnston for the Rabbits. Storm parallel checklist. Rising Stars of Dominic Young for the Knights. Dolly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Milwaukee Fodawaka, parallel for Titans. Jared Guerrero Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. High Performance of Jordan Arapana for the Raiders. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbits. And last packet for box number 11 in the case. And Master Apprentice for the Tigers, James Tamo. Jake Averillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Alright. So 3 boxes left to go in total, guys. We're getting towards the end. High Performance, Andrew McCulloch for the Dragons. Stephen Crichton, parallel for the Panthers. This is the last box of the case. Our heroes are Ben Hunt for the Dragons, Tessie New parallel for Broncos, Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons, Ronaldo Mulatalo parallel for the Sharks, Tommy Talau parallel for Tigers, Chance Nico Klokstad parallel for the Raiders, Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly, Dylan Brown parallel for the Eels, Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly, Blake Laurie parallel for the Dragons, Rising Stars, Jira Mamoisi for the Knights, Big Tino parallel for the Titans, Nathan Cleary, Club Heroes for Panthers, Jai Arrow parallel for the Rabbits, Master Apprentice Black, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs, Bulldogs parallel checklist, Rising Stars, Xavier Savage for the Raiders, Corey Allen parallel for the Bulldogs, Season to remember, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights, Joseph Tapine parallel for the Raiders, Elijah Katoa parallel for the Warriors, Season to remember, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors, Keon Kolomatangi parallel for the Rabbits, Rising Stars, Hayes Dunster for the Eels, Sam Walker parallel for the Roosters, High Performance, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers, Scott Drinkwater parallel for the Cowboys, Our Heroes, Tommy Talau for the Tigers, Bradman Best parallel for the Knights. Don't forget, guys, even if we don't hit another legend in this box, we still have a chance. Or even if we do, we still have a chance to hit another one, or another two actually. Luke Metcalf for the Sharks, Alexander Brimson parallel for the Titans, Foyle Sig, Jeremy Marshall King for the Bulldogs, William Goodger, and number 30. Not too bad number out of the 250. Felice Kafusi parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for Panthers. Kieran Foran parallel for Manly. Season to remember, David Fafita for the Titans. Aaron Clark, parallel for Titans. Master and Apprentice, Kevin Proctor for the Titans. Hamali Olaka'atu for Manly. Rising Stars, Sam Walker for the Roosters. The Rabbitohs, parallel checklist. High Performance, Isaac Liu for the Roosters. Josh Jackson, parallel for Bulldogs. Ryan Sutton, parallel for Raiders. Team High Performance for the Titans. Ewan Aiken, parallel for the Warriors. This is what we have. What have we got? 4, 10. 10th last packet in the last box of the case. What do we have left to find? Rising Stars, Trent LaRoe for the Storm. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for Storm. Something different that we've got up at the moment, guys. I should have actually checked before I said something, but I'm pretty sure it's $85 by memory. Cheapest chips by 80. There we go, 80. $80 a spot. Cheapest chips, 21 Traders case. Rising Stars, Blake Taff for the Rabbits. Joseph Sawali, parallel for the Roosters. Could score yourself a cheap Laurie Daly, a legend signature. There you go, 80 bucks. Couple of spots sold, not many. Plenty left. Season to remember, and Jake Averillo for the Bulldogs, and Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. And on that note, actually, guys, keep an eye out over the next couple of days. We'll start listing some Razzles and cleaning up some of the old breaks we have at the moment. Get them done. So the poor people that jumped in at the very beginning, as soon as we list them, they don't have to wait around. Rising Stars, Zach Sini, Payne Huss, parallel for the Broncos. We do appreciate the patience of those that are nice and quick and get in early with the breaks. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. We do realise a few of them take a while. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for the Knights. High Performance, Brendan Smith for Storm. Luke Brooks, parallel for Tigers. Master Apprentice, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Eels, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Greg Marshew for Titans. Tarek Sims, parallel for Dragons. And last but hopefully not least, we always hope the last one's not the least. We're going to give us one more good hit, but not this case. Luke Brooks, season to remember for Tigers. Tommy Dearden, parallel for the Cowboys. All right. We've got 2 boxes left. Both priority 122 and 121. So let's keep going with the 22. Weren't lucky enough to find our second legend in the case. maybe we'll be lucky enough to find it in the priority. Or in the first priority. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. David Nofaluma, parallel for Tigers. High Performance, Brian To'off for Panthers. Junior Paulo, parallel for Eels. Rising Stars, Trent LaRoe for Storm. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Master Apprentice, Bo Formall for the Titans. Kalen Ponga, parallel for the Knights. Power Heroes, Nick Kotrick for the Bulldogs. Jack Bird, parallel for the Dragons. Valentine Holmes, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for Panthers. And Daniel Saifiti, parallel for Knights. Rising Stars, Luke Metcalf for the Sharks. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, David Fafita for Titans. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. Haven't heard much about him this season. Is he injured or something, Dad? Do you know?
Yeah.
Harry Grant. He's still playing? Rising Stars, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. High Performance, Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Titans parallel checklist. Tavita Satola, parallel for the Rabbits. Our first priority hit for the break, number 10 for Tegan Fair. Team High Performance, high priority. Jack Hetherington, parallel for Bulldogs. Season to remember, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Josh Schuster, parallel for Manly. And our black Master Apprentice priority, number 16, Matt Dory for the Bulldogs. Corey Thompson, parallel for Titans. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. almost halfway on the 22 Traders Priority. Rising Stars, a Blake Taff for the Rabbits. The Raiders parallel checklist. We've found both the priority hits. Now it's just fingers crossed to see what else. Season to remember, Jade Avarillo, Chanel Harris Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. High performance, Justin Olam for the Storm. Tyson Gamble, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Ajira Mamoisi for the Knights. Christian Welsh, parallel for the Storm. Tommy Turbo, club hero for Manly. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. As always, we'll have pictures of the hits up after the break. Xavier Savage, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Jared Wallace, parallel for Titans. Master and Apprentice, Cooper Johns for Storm. Toby Rudolph, parallel for Sharks. Rising Stars, Greg Marzu for the Titans. Stefano Uchikamanu, parallel for Tigers. Season to remember, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Retirements, a Boyd Cordner for the Roosters. Excuse me. Corey Waddell, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Hayes Dunster for the Eels. Emery Gula, parallel for the Raiders. High performance, a Jack Bird for the Dragons. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Tony Staggs, Power Heroes for Broncos. Daniel Tupu, parallel for Roosters. We got 6 last packets for 22 Traders. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. Jerome Malloy, parallel for Panthers. Tony Staggs, parallel for Broncos. Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly. William Kennedy, parallel for Sharks. Season to remember, Luke Brooks for the Tigers. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Dragons parallel checklist. And last but not least, Rising Stars Zaxini for the Tigers. Angus Crichton parallel for the Roosters. Alright. Alright, last but not least, box of the break, 21 Traders, 21 Traders Priority. Move that. Alright. Season to remember, Sonny Bill Williams for the Roosters. Thomas McHale, parallel for Tigers. Amali Olaka'atu, Rising Stars for Manly. Manly parallel checklist. So all our packets so far are half upside down. Season to remember, Alex Johnston for the Rabbits. Primal Hunt, parallel for the Knights. Cody Nikarima, parallel for the Warriors. Hammer Fido, season to remember for the Cowboys. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for the Knights. Lachlan Lamb, Rising Stars for the Roosters. Micah Sevo, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tessie New for the Broncos. Jordan Piera, parallel for Dragons. Tanner Boyd, Rising Stars for Titans. Dale Finucane, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Ray Stone for the Eels. Raiders parallel checklist. Cameron Murray, Star Tunes for the Rabbits. Talise Kafusi, parallel for the Storm. Oops, wrong pile. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for the Storm. Ryan Pappenhausen, a Black Streeter for the Storm. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for the Panthers. Payne Haas, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Braden Trindle for the Sharks. Blake Ferguson, parallel for the Eels. Adam Clune, Rising Stars for the Dragons. Nick Meaney, parallel for the Bulldogs. Wildcard, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Malami Kickout, parallel for Panthers. Liam Knight, a foil sig for the Rabbits. Most of you will know that last year's were unnumbered. Adalan Bertine Zalesniak, parallel for the Bulldogs. We haven't found either of the priority kits for this box. Ryan Madison, a wild card for the Eels. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. I think I did. Yeah, there I did. Broncos parallel checklist. Season to remember, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Tavita Satola, parallel for the Rabbits. Braden Hamlin Yuli for the Sharks. Wildcard, Josh Hodgson for the Raiders. Jared Croker, parallel for the Raiders. Ben Hunt, White Street Art for the Dragons. Boyd Cordner, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Clint Gutherson for the Eels. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Stephen Crichton for the Panthers. Eliza Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. Startoons, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Josh Allowite, parallel for the Tigers. Our first 21 Traders Priority for Jim Lindors. Number 10 out of 45, Panthers team wildcard. Number 10. Congratulations. Nice little hit. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Gerard Beale, retirements for the Sharks. See, I thought the foils and retirements were in the same boxes last year. Matt Duffy, parallel for the Dragons. Jake Averillo, Rising Stars for the Bulldogs. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Titans. Jerome Luai, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Jackson Paulo for the Rabbitohs. Cowboys, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Tom Starling for the Raiders. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. And our priority club hero, Mr. Warren Stoddart with Brian Kelly, number 6. Josh Maguire, parallel for the Cowboys. Three packets left to go. White Streeter, Maiki Fodawaika for the Titans. Moses Sulai, parallel for Manly. Wildcard, Alexander Brimson for the Titans. Suicide Takahawi for the Roosters. God. Last packet. Here we go. Rising Stars, Connolly Alumilu for the Cowboys. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Alright. So, number 176 out of 200. We were lucky enough to get the Malmaninga. There is 2. The 8 looked like a 0, okay? So, that will get randomised between everyone. Get in there. That is our number. Alright, so normally I'll just do these in the order they come out in, which surprisingly enough, I was going to change it, and it's okay because we have AABB. So I can do them in that order without any hassle. So first up we have our blue header A, and don't worry, I do know we haven't switched screens yet. I am getting there. So we'll do our header, Power Hero header cards, and then we'll do the Malmaninga signature. Alright, so number 1, number 2, and number 3, blue header A, Brent Nichols with the Knights. Alright, so normal header A. Let's start that again. Number 1, number 2, and number 3, Luke Hodder with the Storm. Alright, so now we've got Cowboys through to Tigers. This is for our 2 header Bs. Number 1, number 2, and number 3, Jim Lindors with the Panthers. And our last header card, number 1, number 2, number 3, Raymond William with the Tigers. We're going to do our 21 Traders Hobby Box first. Alright. So this is for the 21 Traders Hobby Box. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3. Raymond William with the Tigers for that too. No, I'm alright, thanks. Tigers. Alright. So our last randomizer, Mal Meninga Legend Signature. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Luke Hoodoo with the Rabbitohs. Congratulations. Thank you to everyone for being a part of it. And don't forget to check out our breaks that are still listed, guys. We have a bit of variety at the moment, so plenty to choose from. And yeah, once again, thank you for being a part of it, and we'll see you again next time. As I said, keep an eye out for the Razzes. We'll be listing a new one in the next day or two. Probably tomorrow.